which we saw live on an Arabic network, which I agree looks horrible, should not happen, and is something that I'm waiting for the IDF to investigate.
Tired IDF soldier is showing his true ugliness on Piers Morgan. Mehdi Hasan is out here. Let's go.
War to continue for his own reasons, for the ideological reasons of his cabinet allies. And the military, you know, the Israeli military has now come to its senses saying this is not helping. This is the same Israeli military that has committed multiple war crimes. I mean, Jonathan talked earlier about, you know, what the purpose of combat is. He said he was a proud IDF man. He's proudly part of a military that last week bombed a hospital not once, but twice. A double tap strike, according to CNN, triple tap strike, killing emergency responders, journalists, aid workers in front of our eyes. That is his glorious military. It's an Israeli military which, according to Dr. Nick Maynard, Piers, who you know, British doctor, I interviewed him last month, he said he treated Palestinian teenagers in his hospital in Gaza over the summer who were shot in the testicles, multiple children shot in the testicles by Jonathan's military, the same military that killed 15 paramedics in April and then just buried them with their ambulances in the sand. They were buried in the sand by the Israeli military in April. They lied, the Israelis. They said, oh, the lights were off. We didn't know who they were. Hamas were firing. Turned out all to be a lie. You know what the Israelis did, Piers? They fired the deputy commander. That's it. Nobody went to prison. No one was charged. They murdered 15 people. That's the military that Jonathan's come to defend. The most immoral military right now in the world that is bombing hospitals in front of our eyes.
Jonathan?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's various levels of ridiculous. But listen, Mehdi, there's been a job opening. Israel finally got rid of Abu Ubaidah, a very prolific and well-to-do Hamas
You've really got to get better with your Hamas propaganda. You're a racist,
small man.
Genocidal, war criminal.
Man.
You support war criminals. Well, you're trying to put a target on me? Are you and Elon Levy trying to put a target on me? Are you trying to put a target on me? You keep saying I'm Hamas, and you support killing Hamas.
You've done it with Elon, and it won't work with me, little Mehdi. Little Mehdi, you've done that shtick with Elon. It doesn't impress me. But I'm telling you is that if you improve your Arabic just a bit,
you keep saying I'm Hamas based on nothing.
If you improve your Arabic just a bit, I think you are well on track to become a very prolific spokesperson for Hamas.
Your troops engaged in sexual violence against Palestinian women.
Abu Ubaidah.
You're being investigated in the International Criminal Court.
Touting Hamas's
you are part of an
propaganda
army
lies.
that is committing genocide, Jonathan.
Mehdi, you are touting Hamas's propaganda lies. You are regurgitating things from April and from September.
The genocidal Israeli military.
Let me jump in. Jonathan, let me jump in, please.
Israeli military.
All right.
And now you want to kill every journalist that speaks out against you.
Yeah, Jonathan.
You killed 5 journalists last week.
Jonathan,
on that,
but I think you would do an excellent job at replacing Abu Ubaidah.
Your military killed 5 journalists.
Let me ask a question, please.
And you're doing a great job. And you're doing a great job as Julius Streicher.
All right, let me ask a question because nobody can hear either of you. Nobody can hear either of you.
That's how history will remember you.
Let me ask you.
Usually I'm not on Piers Morgan's side, but what Piers Morgan is about to bring up is pretty much the nail in the coffin for these IDF lunatics.
Jonathan, about the incident. Jonathan, let me speak. About the incident that Mehdi's alluding to.
He doesn't want to talk about the hospital.
I'm just about to ask him about the hospital. If you let me do my job. Let me please ask you a question and do my job. So, Jonathan, the incident that Mehdi's alluding to, the double tap attack on a hospital which killed 5 journalists. This takes the total of journalists to over 200. There are now journalists all over the world who are protesting about this. People from CNN, from Reuters, from AP, from every serious news organization in the world, saying that there is a mini genocide going on with actual journalists in Gaza, and that the only reason for this, the deliberate systematic attacks on journalists, is because Israel does not want people reporting on what is actually happening there. I know you agree with me, because you said it many times, that Israel should allow the international media in to do their jobs. But so far, they're not doing that. They're only allowing in certain friendly journalists embedded with the IDF to report what they want them to report. But until there is free, unfettered access of journalists into that region to report on this stuff, there is a belief that Israel is going about now deliberately and systematically killing Palestinian journalists to silence them. What is your response to that?
Yeah, that belief is wrong, and I have a few things to say. First, about the horrible tragic mistake at Nasser Hospital. That is not what I envision in terms of Israeli operations. That is a tactical mistake by forces on the ground that saw a camera on top of a building, assessed that the camera was operated by Hamas, because Hamas has been operating cameras from all civilian buildings, including from hospitals, in order to monitor the troop movement of Israeli troops and then to detonate IEDs or otherwise to direct combat activity against Israeli troops. And that is why when Israeli troops saw that camera and other activity on top of that building, they engaged. Regretfully, 5 journalists, some of them working for international media outlets, were killed. That is not a desired outcome. That is a mistake, and that should not happen on the battlefield, full stop. 6 terrorists were also killed in that attack. When I spoke with 6 Hamas known operatives were killed. When I spoke with people in the IDF, my questions were actually about the second strike, which we saw live on an Arabic network, which I agree looks horrible, should not happen, and is something that I'm waiting for the IDF to investigate and to present findings and to say this is why the mistake happened and these are the steps that we have taken in order to rectify it. And
yeah, it was just a mistake. The fact that, there's been over 200 journalists that wind up, that are no longer here. We're not targeting them at all. This is just it's just one big mistake. This whole thing, it looks bad. Look, and I don't even have anything to say about it besides, it's a big little whoopsie right here.
I believe that the IDF will do that. And I believe that this is not what the IDF was seeking to achieve, because it was very clearly aid workers and others that were trying to rescue people that were wounded from the first engagement. So this was not intentional. This was a battlefield mistake in a chaotic or very difficult combat environment of troops that are under fire from civilian buildings where the enemy uses hospitals and schools and mosques and houses in order to fire from. This is the reality in Gaza made by Hamas, which we many times gloss over. No, as I said, they were from that. But first of all, Hamas has fired from the Nasser hospital several times in the past, and Hamas has been using cameras from various buildings, mosques, schools, and hospitals in Khan Yunis, in Gaza, in Rafah, in all of the Palestinian villages and cities. And that is why the IDF thought that the cameras that they saw were linked to Hamas. But I'm saying it very clearly. That was not the intended outcome.
Mehdi?
Can I respond, Piers? Yeah. So on this hospital attack, let's just be very clear here, because so much gaslighting going on here. First of all, I'm old enough to remember October 2023 when the world went mad to suggest that Israel would ever attack a hospital. We were told for months Israel would never attack a hospital. Now they proudly attack a hospital and try and justify it with nonsense justifications. We attacked it because there was a Hamas camera on the roof. First of all, it wasn't a Hamas camera. It was a Reuters camera. Reuters already gave the Israeli military their positions. There were no Hamas cameras on the roof. It's a ridiculous new phase of Israeli propaganda to say it was a Hamas camera justified killing 20 people, which was insane. Okay, let me speak. If you stop interrupting, stop interrupting, then I'll deal with that live. You already said it. You said there was some...
Let Mehdi respond,
please.
You're
lying.
Hamas terrorists.
Let Mehdi respond.
I never get through a single answer on this show.
Let Mehdi respond.
6 Hamas operatives were not killed. You claim they were killed. No evidence has been provided to the international media that there were 6 Hamas operatives there. In fact, the 6 photos that were released here, 2 of them were killed the day before. One of them was a well-known local firefighter who Israel had already dealt with. They were not 6 Hamas operatives who were killed in that strike. As for it being a mistake, how can it be a mistake, Piers, when it was a double? Can you shut up so I can finish a sentence?
It doesn't make it true.
Piers, am I going to get to speak on this show?
Jonathan,
you're just going to let one person speak all the time?
But I mean, if you're going to lie and you're going to expect me to
you both accuse each other of lying all the time. So let Mehdi respond, then you can respond back.
And the world can see that... Jonathan, we're on Piers Morgan. I get to speak. We're not in Gaza. You don't get to kill me as a journalist. I get to speak here and point out that the journalists were killed in a double-tap strike.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely see, the IDF, they have no respect for anyone whatsoever, and don't know if it's ever going to come about. We can only hope that these people do come to their senses one day, that they will snap out of this psychosis, that everything is against them, that, you know, one group of people is better, that they're better than everyone else. Hopefully they can snap out of that. Hopefully they can get out of this mind frame that they're never the bad guy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's another day in the progressive way.